The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Crime News Tour.
You're listening to Canary Crime News Talk. Today is December 3rd, 2025. We are live to tape on episode 897. And today, Mind Control. The kids. Signing in from off the grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best bud Dazzle, and you are not crazy.
And my name is Gonz, at Face Like the Sun, director of the Age of Deceit films, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, live to tape from the metaverse to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, my dudes.
Wednesday. It is Wednesday. We've made it to the middle of this week, folks, and I think we're going to survive the rest of the week. And we have a breaking story, Gonz, right now, unplanned, brought to us by Caleb in the YouTube chat. This is coming from the AP. Raccoon goes on drunken rampage in Virginia liquor store and passes out on the bathroom floor. The masked burglar broke into the closed Virginia liquor store early on Saturday, and it hit the bottom shelf where the scotch and whiskey were stored. The bandit was something of a nocturnal menace. Bottles were smashed, a ceiling tile collapsed, and alcohol pooled on the floor. The suspect acted like an animal because, in fact, he's a raccoon. And then he passed out on the floor at the bathroom. Thank you, Caleb, for this hard-hitting story. And this is just yet another story, proof in the pudding, if you will, that the chimeras of the pre-flood world had unyielding veracity and hedonism that leaked over and survived, probably due to the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim roaming the earth today, perhaps finding this raccoon in a state of stupor, thanks to the powers of pharmakia opening up portals to this raccoon's body to be inhabited by Nephilim spirits to destroy this Virginia liquor store. I think Virginia, if I could be totally making this up, but I think this is the case, that all liquor stores in Virginia are actually run by the government. And so
government raccoon.
This was obviously a sort of CIA Nephilim hybrid chimera thing. There was probably some very important, I don't know, maybe Epstein files that this little raccoon bandit Nephilim took care of. And we are one step closer towards Revelation 13. Thank you for that, Caleb.
Thank you, Caleb. I think this raccoon was an agent that was doing one last job. Whoever was in that toilet before, we need to know who that is, because I think he was trying to collect the evidence for the sewer surveillance operation, and he had enough.
Yeah, he flushed
it. They're not paying me enough for this.
That's how he delivered the files in the end, was flushed them down the government sewer, information pipeline that dumped out into an underground Bill Gates sort of, data analysis warehouse. Okay. And with that, we have some other news. This was a very interesting series of events. Of course, we had the horrible shooting by the National Guard, not by the National Guard, of the National Guard in Washington, D.C., and with something like this, it was very important to wait a couple days, because things, you'll hear things. You gotta let things settle. You gotta let things shake out. And one interesting piece of the puzzle here, which I think is most interesting in that it is being reported by USA Today and other mainstream news in this fifth generational warfare that we're in. Certainly, this would have, in previous eras, this would have had to, go years online, being put into the the codexes, the conspiracy codexes, the conspiracy, underground for many years until nothing happened about it in general at all. But USA Today reporting, on December 1st, this was Monday, National Guard shooting suspect served in bloody CIA-led Zero units. The Afghan man accused of shooting 2 National Guard soldiers blocks from the White House last week served with CIA-backed Zero units in Afghanistan, paramilitary groups that carried out secret raids against suspected terrorists and U.S. enemies as part of the CIA's counterterrorism program. Ramanullah Lakanwal, the 29-year-old who allegedly shot the 2 West Virginia National Guardsmen in front of the metro station in downtown Washington, served in the elite tactical units, according to Sami Sadat, the former commanding general of the Afghan Army's Special Operations Corps. The group worked with U.S. forces on counterterrorism operations before the Taliban takeover. I think it's important to note here that all of this comes from one source. It comes from the word of the former commanding general of the Afghan Army's Special Operations Corps, i.e. another CIA asset. So we have one CIA asset claiming that this fellow was a CIA asset. Not to say I necessarily doubt it, but number one, why is one CIA asset giving up another CIA asset, putting that into the narrative, and not only online, but into the straight up as mainstream media as you could possibly be mainstream media, USA Today. So whether or not he was actually there, we obviously they want us to think that he was and put the pieces together. But this gets even more interesting. A motive in the shooting has not been revealed, but reports that he served in the ultra-secret violent units that critics compared with death squads for their human rights abuses have spurred questions of whether his experiences left him with post-traumatic stress disorder. So
that's the question. The question is, did he have PTSD? Not like, hey, maybe issue. This was a little bit more of an operative.
He needed more lithium. We needed to put him on more drugs. Or perhaps he was on the drugs. Is the real question here. Of course, they don't pose it that way, but just another interesting detail. Okay, if he was part of death squads, and they'll get into how he was brought here, I think in 2020 or something during the Biden sort of Afghan refugee program. But was he suffering from PTSD, and what sort of drugs was he on? I don't know. We don't know. But even the way that they talk about this isn't like, oh, he served our country and we let him down, right? Or he was one of the good Afghans, and I don't know. So he should have had more mental health care. They're straight up like that's how they have presented these types of things in the past, that he was this sort of heroic figure. So we should really give him the benefit of the doubt or something. But no, in this case, they're just like, yeah, he was on an ultra secret violent death squad in Afghanistan, and maybe he had mental health problems. In the wake of the shooting, the Trump administration pointed the finger at the Biden-era immigration policies and refugee program that brought thousands of Afghans who served with the U.S. military into the country after the 2021 withdrawal from Afghanistan. Lakanwal entered the country that year through one such program, Operation Allies Welcome, which brought nearly 200,000 Afghans into the country. And the insinuation here, although they don't necessarily spell it outright, is during this program, Operation Allies Welcome, they were bringing all sorts of Afghans who helped the U.S. in Afghanistan over the 20 years that we are there. And could there be, I don't know, more members of the death squads running around the country? If there's bound to be at least one other one within the 200,000 Afghans. Lochinwall served with elite U.S.-backed teams. As always, I mean, this is just like a fun, I don't know, repeat of history here. The blowback from CIA-funded programs coming back to bite us as coincidentally, the exact thing that happened in 9/11. Sadat said Lochinwall was among thousands of Afghans who served in the elite tactical units. The units he served was called NSU, National Strike Unit 03, or the Kandahar Strike Group, according to Sadat. Sadat now chairs
Hey,
What?
hold up. You cannot mention Kandahar and just skip over it like we don't know, Basil.
Okay.
Do you not? The
Why don't you
Kandahar
tell us?
Giants. The Kandahar Giants made
Uh-huh.
popular by L.A. Marzulli, although the story, at least in our circles, we had known about the story prior from people like Steve Quayle, who had interviewed some people in the military who were doing stuff over there in the Middle East in the early 2000s, claim that they captured a giant red-haired giant, like literal
Yes.
giant. And
Right.
it's known now as the Kandahar Giant. So, if you don't know these things, you're going to skip over that and be like, oh, yeah, whatever. It's just some group in the Middle East again. But for us, it's like, wait a minute. There might be
Well,
more here,
And of course, we know some of the more interesting things the CIA and the US government was doing in Afghanistan and Iraq at the time was looking for, I don't know, Stargates or the Tomb of Gilgamesh. Thank you,
They
Hillary.
found the Tomb of Gilgamesh, according to the BBC. We don't know what happened since then. It's been about 20-something years. But yeah, there was I think it was a BBC article that you can still pull up that says like Tomb of Gilgamesh found. I'll try to pull it up.
Right. And of course, the searching for the Tomb of Gilgamesh showing up in Hillary Clinton's, 33,000 emails that became so famous. The CIA confirmed that Lochinwall served under it in Afghanistan, but declined to comment on what role he played or reports of its human rights abuses. There's a nice picture of him there. When the Taliban took over after the end of the 20-year U.S. occupation of Afghanistan, the United States welcomed Afghans who fought alongside Americans as they feared reprisals from the new regime. In the wake of and then it goes into some comments by the Trump administration. The first Zero units were formed months after September 11th, 2001. Interesting detail. It was kind of this turnkey insurgency that apparently we had planned at the time because it takes
they were
years.
Ready to go.
Yeah, it takes
ready
years
to go.
to put that kind of stuff together. But apparently the CIA had already lined up these kill squads or whatever.
It's like having little jabs ready in case of a pandemic, everybody,
Yes,
just in case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Usually takes 10 years to put together a kill squad.
Did it in 6 months.
At their height in late 2010 and 2011, an average of 19 raids were carried out nightly in Afghanistan, according to the Open Society Foundation report.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. Okay, Soros has his eye on the CIA death squads in Afghanistan.
Of course he does. Of course he does.
Guided by CIA intelligence and accompanied by U.S. Special Operations personnel, the Zero units conducted tactical night raids against suspected terrorists and Taliban militants. So they kind of repeat over and over about how, they were Afghans doing Afghan stuff, and yes, the CIA helped them. Oh no, it turns out they're Special Operations personnel on the ground with the death squads, of course. Quote, these units were very highly trained and did some of the most heavy fighting throughout the war. Mick Mulroy, a former CIA paramilitary operations officer and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, told USA Today, quote, a whole generation of CIA and military officers served alongside them, embedded with them, and many owe their life to members of this unit. Mulroy added, they were the first to be stood up and the last to leave Afghanistan. Sadat said the units were among. So you have here the heroizing of these units. Again, it's not, he's a CIA asset and so it's really sketchy. It's no, he was a war hero and the PTSD got to them, and etc.
Sure.
Sadat said the units were among the most effective in combating the Taliban on the ground. The majority came to the United States right after the 2021 withdrawal, since they faced extreme danger of being hunted down and killed by the Taliban, who hold a special hatred for the Zero units, Sadat said. Oh boy.
Beautiful narrative being laid out here.
And it goes on. It goes on and on. But the very interesting bit here is, at least in the context of the 5th generation sort of battlefield, it's okay, yes, he was the result of a sketchy, dark site CIA death squad paramilitary. And okay, conspiracy theorists, you got us there. It's no big deal. He obviously was having some mental health problems. And yes, he was a trained killer. And yes, he did, but he was a hero. We couldn't have lost the war in Afghanistan if it weren't for our hero. I mean, come on. What are we supposed to say?
That's too much of a macro view. These individuals that were there, talk to them. They owe their lives to these units who were killing and kidnapping people and stuff.
It's true. Just to end with, let's see here, a couple. I'm going to go to the last 2 paragraphs. Gossman said people complained to local officials, but investigations were stonewalled and shut down. People were left with no answers, and the United States never took accountability for the dangerous culture of impunity that accompanied these operations. They're talking about in Afghanistan after the war, and creating these death squads, thousands of men trained. And the crazy thing, or not, maybe not crazy, but the thing to remember is that was a 20-year war. So a whole generation basically raised by the CIA to be killing machines, and then came Biden's pullout, et cetera, and we brought these. I mean, you talk about bring up a child in the way they should go. Talk about MK Ultra. Talk about all these things. A 20-year war, a full generation, like from some of these in some, I would say, extra mainstream reading about these units. Some of these units, they started training kids at like 10 years old to be part of
all about the children. It's all
right
about getting them young. I think that's the theme for today's episode, by the way.
29 years old. He was 29 years old in death squads that are 20 years old. The guy was 9 or 10, potentially. He was 9 or 10 years old by the time the CIA came in and started training him. Says, quote, "It's the utter lack of transparency that is most concerning," she said. There was no sense that there needed to be accountability for those actions, meaning the actions of the death squads, but not necessarily about the individuals in the death squads. It was about the CIA, who brought up children as young as 10 to be killing machines and then imported them to the United States. So you don't even need a conspiracy theory here. It's this very interesting new phase of the 5th generation warfare that we live in, because pretty immediately after this came out and people started digging into it, you would see this kind of stuff flowing on the X feed. And a sane, rational, patient person should wait a couple days before the X feed crazies to go off, and we can kind of shake out what's going on. And whether or not all of this is necessarily true to the most verifiable degree, it is the narrative sourced from other CIA assets. So whether or not this is true or not, it is a sort of word of mouth narrative given by the head CIA asset in this case, to sort of tell this story and give the impression that there's potentially thousands more of these children raised to kill by the CIA who are living amongst us in the US here. So really playing in well to the sort of recent increase in sort of fear the Islamic people on American soil type of thing. Very effective.
Yeah, I have the the story just for reference here. This is the BBC, published April 29th, 2003. Gilgamesh tomb believed to be found. Archaeologists in Iraq believe they may have found the lost tomb of King Gilgamesh, the subject of the oldest book in history. And we have not heard much since then. But the Giant of Kandahar story, again, is a fascinating one because it is a story of a military group that found the body of the giant, and there was some drama concerning it. I don't remember all the specifics, but there were, I believe it was dead, but it was huge, and they had to cover it up, and the whole thing. So, what's actually going on in the Middle East? Who knows? And all this stuff with the national. I mean, obviously, this is a tragic murder and stuff, but if we start asking who benefits, like what's the purpose here, it does feel like because USA Today is carrying it, and USA Today is considered mainstream news, mainstream media outlet. This thing reads more like, and not exactly, but more like an alt media type of take or something, or a truth seeker type of take where you're digging into CIA connected stuff. Obviously, you can still see the little bit of the propaganda there of like not painting all the military operations from that era as negative or terrible. It was more like, oh, some people in the UN and whatever, they think there was some human rights violations. But yeah, how can you not have? You can't do war without being accused of human rights violations, But I think the greater, not necessarily what's happening per se at a tick by tack basis, but it feels like a lot of the old legacy scams from intelligence, like that era is over. So mainstream can expose some of that stuff without too much of an issue because the operations that are being carried out now are different. You know what I mean? Like there's a new protocol or like a new method to scamming the world basically in different
and it's not
contexts.
I think we shouldn't be overlooked that we are right on the precipice of a very similar U.S. operation in Venezuela right now.
Right.
Invasion, potential occupation for at least very similar reasons on the back end, and being sort of confronted with basically the exact same repercussions of a very similar situation, as not necessarily the narrative of like a 9/11 narrative terrorist thing, but the drug, the whole thing with Maduro, the drug trafficking, etc. Something that doesn't quite seem to match what Trump voters were thinking when they said, yay, no more wars, no more regime change. And Trump's like, okay, I'll end 8 wars, I'll end a 9th, and then we're going to do our American duty and take over Venezuela because drugs. What? That's what? Okay.
It's always got to be something. Always got to be something going on. You can't have nothing going on. The tax money will stop rolling in.
Announcement. Sorry, everybody. I forgot to press send on the text message before the show. So if you're just tuning in now, I forgot. But I just sent it out. People are getting it. So thank you. You're here. Sorry, you missed the first story, but you can go back and listen to it. Go do that. Not now, but after the show. You're gonna love it. Speaking of the Orange Man guns, let's get into it.
Well, first off, that was the whole thing was supposed to be a false flag story.
This is false.
So there you go. But let's talk. There's been a theme this week, especially, or maybe the last couple weeks, looking at the monetary system and some of the shifts that are occurring there. It's very shaky. A lot of changes that are taking place in the money system here. Let's see.
$100 billion. I don't have any money.
Man, 100 billion used to sound like a lot. Now does not sound like a lot. But this is Trump's new age.
We will launch a new age.
And this has to do with crypto. I got to pull up all of my jingles here.
Is this a crypto? like I know what a crypto is.
And of course, Blackrock.
BlackRock is a financial giant. It's the largest investor on planet Earth.
Okay, so there's a photo of two gentlemen here, Basil. It is Larry Fink and Brian Armstrong. This is Brian Armstrong's X post here. It says, "Great to catch up, Larry. Tokenization is the future. It's time to bring every asset on chain." And the head of BlackRock and the head of Coinbase are now, I mean, they're standing pretty close together, arm in arm. There's a deal that's been done. And this is in the wake of what we covered last episode with Coinbase doing the, I guess it's universal basic income. Did they call it that? I forget. I don't think they called it that necessarily. It was like a little pilot program to give $10,000 or $12,000 to about 150 people in New York City between the
UBI,
ages of 18 and 30.
Crypto UBI pilot program, corporately funded, not tax
Right.
funded.
Corporately funded, right, by Coinbase. So obviously Coinbase, BlackRock, we all know about BlackRock, one of the biggest asset managers in the world. They have a contract to rebuild Ukraine. They have, I'm sure they're involved in the Mara Gaza type of thing going on in Israel. So we know BlackRock, not the greatest. We know Brian Armstrong, Coinbase, not the greatest. They were on Squawk Box yesterday, or I guess it was this morning maybe. And what's the guy from Squawk Box? What's his name? The host, the young guy. Is it Jim Cramer?
Isn't it Jim Cramer? No.
I thought it was. Oh, maybe this isn't Squawk Box. Maybe this is New York Times. I don't know. Anyway, this was one of these financial shows that's pretty popular. And so Brian Armstrong and Larry Fink are sitting down, and the guy who asks the question is asking Larry Fink why he changed his mind on crypto, because of course they are the big Bitcoin ETF is the most successful financial product that BlackRock has ever presented.
Just a
Bill
correction. It's not Jim Cramer. It's Joe, Becky, and Andrew Ross Sorkin who do Squawk
There's
Box.
Sorkin. I think that's the guy here. Okay, yeah, Andrew Sorkin. So the question is, the top of the question is a little bit cut off, but he basically starts off, you famously in 2017 called crypto a scam, and that's kind of where we pick it up here.
Called crypto an index for money laundering. BlackRock
and thieves.
And thieves.
Yes.
Money laundering and thieves.
Right.
You now have the biggest Bitcoin ETF. So what happened here?
I have very strong views, but that doesn't mean I'm not wrong. By having strong views, you have to test yourself and ask yourself. And in my role, I see thousands of clients a year. I have governmental leaders, and we have these conversations, and my thought process always evolves. And this is a very glaring public example of a big shift in my opinion.
Look at that. So humble. Look at this. I was wrong about crypto. Or is it that BlackRock figured out a way to involve themselves in the scam and the thieving and the money laundering, but do it legally, do so with the power of institution and influence. And if you're an asset manager of, $16 trillion worth of assets, you got a pretty good network of friends in high places. And, it's money laundering if you and I do it, Basil. But if BlackRock's getting in there doing it and scamming people left and right, well, it's just institutional standards. So, right. Yeah, but he gets to frame it as like, I was wrong. I was wrong about it. And I got to, do the 180 publicly. I just think it's very interesting. It's an interesting, he could be very genuine about it, but the way it's presented, it's very hard for me to accept the fact that Larry Fink was just ignorant in 2017. He was just repeating the lines that crypto is, or Bitcoin and crypto are just for money laundering and scamming from thieves. And now he's in on it. And so it's not that anymore.
Different administrative landscape. You know, these
Sure,
guys
yeah.
don't really have, they don't really care about anything. It depends who's in charge and who they're working with, and with
Mhm.
this Trump administration and everything. Oh, hey, this is what we're doing. This is where we're going. This is where the money's at.
Yep. I also have this clip from a press conference yesterday, and let me see if I got a louder version of it here. Oh, I guess I didn't. Mm, that's a bummer. But basically, it's Trump. He's doing a little presser, and I'm sure he did this on purpose too. He kind of teased the next chairman of the Federal Reserve in this. I'm sorry if it's a little quiet. Here we go.
It's a great group. And I guess a potential Fed chair is here too. I don't know. Are we allowed to say that? Potential. He's a respected person, that I can tell you. Thank you, Kevin.
All right. So Kevin Hassett is the guy. He says potential. I think he had to emphasize it. I don't know if he was supposed to say it all there, but that's why he gave like are we allowed to say that? Potential. And this guy, Hassett, was the former advisor, Kevin Hassett, former Coinbase advisor. So now, it's starting to kind of make sense now. You got Coinbase in New York doing the little UBI program. You have Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong hanging out with Blackrock, Larry Fink. And now we got an ex-Coinbase advisor who is going to become the next Fed chair. I don't know, man. It's the same old, is it not? It's like the people up at the top there, they're making deals, they're cutting deals, and the have and have nots are going to start really showing themselves on a ledger, Basil, a public ledger. We're going to be able to see who's rich, who's not.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I don't know. It's the same old in I guess that way that you're talking about. But again, for those who get sort of roll their eyes at any mention of crypto here, I mean, goodness gracious, there's sure are a bunch of them, and we're not necessarily bringing crypto news to the show because we're trying to convince everybody that Bitcoin's a good idea, or you should buy some sort of meme coin or something, which is so common these days. But really the implication that Trump would, even, again, just for propaganda purposes, even if he's just trying to scare somebody or he's just trying to, the messaging here is, oh no, remember Coinbase, that thing that you all thought was for, criminals and would never catch on, that it was Beanie Babies. Adam Curry famously called Bitcoin the new Beanie Babies, this types of thing. He's since changed his tune and sees the light now. But as we're tracking very heavily, especially in recent weeks, momentum that we've never seen before towards the new. And again, it's relevant because we're talking beast system. We're talking mark of the beast. We're talking the merchants of the earth and the magicians teaming together to create the sort of different version, however, maybe of course even more effective version of sort of a one world currency, a borderless currency, all backed up by some digital, not just digital ID, but my biometric digital ID on chain. When he's saying we're going to put everything on chain, he's going to tokenize, and I know that's kind of a crypto word, but basically record every object, not just transaction, but every object on the blockchain. Lots of people draw lots of connections between the beasts, the mark of the beast and the beast system with blockchain, the sort of indelible, infinite, never-ending, never erasable ledger, the counterfeit sort of ledger of life. But to even hint and play with the idea that a guy from Coinbase, the sort of most corporate representation of the economic shift we're going through, to be the Federal Reserve chair. And the implication here is, I mean, he's talking about, if not the destruction of the Fed, the infiltration of the Fed. Because remember, the destruction of the Fed or the audit the Fed, this is all very libertarian cryptocurrency ideology here.
Yeah.
And so, as we track sort of the real steps, by the way, not just amorphous, philosophical or prophetic steps towards the thing we've been paying attention to for so long, but actual physical administrative steps towards that. Putting a cryptocurrency guy as head of the Fed is about as diabolical a move as you could possibly do without just straight up, shutting down the Fed altogether.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you can't entirely shut it down, you got to do a pretty hard rebrand or brand reset in a sense.
Just like you did with Department of Defense to the
Same
Department
thing,
of War.
yeah.
He can do it with
Department
the
of War.
snap of his fingers. In most cases. Now, the Fed is a little bit more of a complicated piece of bureaucracy because the president doesn't technically have full control over it, but he gets to nominate his guy to take control. And with the snap of his fingers, there's another, Department of War instead of Department of Defense. You have, instead of the Federal Reserve, you have the Federal, crypto dispensary or something, which essentially could get rid of it altogether. With the same, he's doing the same plan with the income tax thing, and the tariff,
Right.
which we'll get
We're
to.
about to, get to in a second. Yeah. So, and just as the power that is held by the Blackrocks and the Coinbases and stuff. And by the way, people that pay attention to on-chain, that can read on-chain, which I could do a little bit of. You can probably do a little, Basil, of reading on-chain transactions and stuff. And there are sleuths out there who track the wallets of big institutions like Coinbase and BlackRock and the U.S. government. And because these are semi-transparent, you can see their wallets and you can see what they're doing. And the coordinated effort of centralized exchanges around the world, including Coinbase and Binance and all these groups, they all sell at the same time and they all buy at the same time. It's just, I don't know how that happens, Basil. It's just apparently they know when it's a good time to sell and when it's a good time to buy. And the retail, people like you and I, we're just kind of left to whatever they're doing. And the power of it, I think you and I, people in the Canary, we're not affected so much by the ups and downs of a monetary chart, whether it's, the S&P 500, whatever. But for people that this is what they do, their emotions are so heavily manipulated by the ability of these big groups to really scam in either direction, whether it's pumping it to new heights where it's unattainable or dumping it really fast. And we've noticed it, especially if you're looking at the charts and stuff, the emotions, like you could just tell they're playing with everybody's emotions. They pump it and then they pull it way down, and then they pump it and then they pull it way down. This is a monthly chart, Basil, that I'm showing on the screen here. So every candle on the screen is 1 month. And so you can tell how they go a few months, they let it go up, and then they have like a month where they just yank it down really far, and then they pull it up again a little bit more. And it's like this little staircase that they're forming, and they're able to make money in both directions. And they're able to, I think what they want to do, the institutions, they want to own all the crypto. So they want to shake people out like you and I. And traditionally, if you're in the crypto world, there's a cycle, like every 4 years, there's a cycle of the price is going up and going down, and there's a lot of technicalities and halvings and all this kind of stuff involved with it. But the institutions seem to be breaking that cycle, and if anyone's going to break it, it's BlackRock with all their assets and Coinbase, and
I think I have a new rule that will allow us to talk about crypto and not turn off the people who get exhausted by crypto talks.
Okay.
I think the second you bring up a chart, the segment's over. I think that's the key, because it's really just when we get into the Gon's sort of technical analysis of charts.
This is not
that I think
technical analysis.
people
This is
glaze
just
over.
showing a chart. I
I
just saw
think
10
the
more people hop
second-
into the room.
The
So
second the
I
chart comes up on the screen, that we have an alarm go off, we have an air horn goes off, and we go to the next story.
Okay, fine. We'll go to the next story, which is still has to do with money here, but this is coming from Fox Business. Trump says Americans may soon pay no income tax as White House explores alternative revenue streams. Hey, it's no longer just the alt media. It's alt money, baby. Alt money time. President Donald Trump suggested Tuesday that Americans may, quote, not even have income tax to pay in the near future, saying tariff-driven revenue could allow for the historic elimination of the federal income tax under his tenure. Trump told press gaggle after his cabinet meeting that, quote, at some point in the not too distant future, you won't even have income tax to pay. See, I want people to pay attention because I noticed this. I don't know if you noticed this, Basil, but he says, quote, at some point in the not too distant future, you won't even have income tax to pay. Now, most people look at that and go, oh, cool, no more income tax. And I think that's how he's contextualizing it. But it could be translated as you will have nothing. You won't even have money to be able to pay income tax.
Mm-hmm.
You will have nothing and be happy. So, I mean, obviously it's about eliminating the whole income tax thing, but I don't know. I mean, once they are at a point where they're going to pull the trigger on something this massive, they're going to have all the rails ready for whatever's next. This alt rail of monetary extraction from the people. So while I am rooting for this, and I know a lot of people are rooting for something like this, it's always the case when governments move in the favor of something like this. So you got to pay attention to what they have replacing it.
You know, he said, I'm not really buying that this is ever going to happen.
We
I
believe the
think
smartest investment that
My
we
gosh,
can
what is
make.
going on?
Yeah, it
She'll
started.
be-
Yeah,
on my computer
started
too.
just
That was
playing,
annoying.
random too.
I saw you had it up before the show. I don't know if you still do, but the what is it? The debt counter. You have the debt.
Oh, yeah, it's always I got it. I got it on lock right here. I just pull it up every time.
On the debt counter, it does have the tariff revenue counter.
Yes.
Under the U.S. national debt. And,
Right.
you know, while Trump, the last numbers that I heard him bragging about were the $200 billion that came in from tariff revenue. I think he used that. What did he use it for? He used it during the shutdown, or said he was going to use it during the shutdown to help with SNAP or pay the military. I forget exactly which one it was. It's just hard to imagine. It's just really hard to imagine that tariff revenue. Now, I know the history. I know the history of tariffs in early America and how there was no need for any income tax. It didn't even exist because the tariffs were so effective. And I want to believe so badly. But this kind of there's really no difference when it comes to Trump between whether he says something wishy-washy or he says something with absolute confidence. Like, that is not necessarily a clue to which things will actually happen or not. I was very excited about the sort of idea, especially during the election and after the election, his early months in office. You had Secretary Lutnick coming out, laying out the plan for no income tax. Of course I love it. But it's really hard to imagine. Now, the details that he does give says here, earlier in his second administration, the president floated a tax plan eliminating income tax for individuals under $150,000, which remember that number, because there's
it'll pop up
very
again in a second.
interesting series of events on that number. Individuals earning under $150,000. It says some very interesting things, and this seems to be the cutoff for really any
You are poor. You are
right. This is the you are
it's
poor
you are
level,
poor. Yeah, it's the line for
which
you are poor.
I think a lot of us could have mixed feelings about, but if we're under the you are poor level of $150,000 for an individual, heck, that's going to open up a lot of possibilities when it comes to who doesn't have to pay income tax, etc. I think we're going to be hearing a lot more about the income tax thing because it's midterms. The second 2026 rolls over, we're going to hear a lot about this. Some pretty drastic things. I'm just trying not to get my hopes up, I guess, maybe is what I'm talking about here. Here's a quote. It says, it's time for the United States to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever before, the president said back in January. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. When asked if he was serious about eliminating personal income taxes by podcaster Joe Rogan, then candidate Trump responded, yeah, sure, why not? And said tariffs. It's like as wishy-washy of a thing that Trump has ever said in his life. But, again, it's the fifth generation warfare. We are in this phase where we're seeing really, honestly, really radical things happening. The crypto UBI by Coinbase in New York couldn't have happened without Mamdani, along with the potential of Coinbase, executives or what was he? Not an assistant, an advisor, as a potential head of the Fed. Of course, in the background, we've got, again, Genius Act, Clarity Act coming up. We've got the basically full transition of at least corporate banking, the corporate side of banking, over to a cryptocurrency system. Again, more than anything, just tokenizing the dollars. I went through the whole thing. I won't go through it necessarily here, but thanks to the recent crypto regulations, every dollar you put in a bank will essentially be tripled with more fake money. It turns your funny money fiat currency, matches it with a stable coin, and then the loans taken off of that stable coin. We could basically instantly, Babylonian money magic our way out of the national debt, or at least totally out of the system, which holds the country responsible for that debt. And the UBI aspect of it, which again is corporate UBI experiment in New York, there's some very interesting tax questions as far as that goes. So it's kind of testing the waters on all of these separate little mechanisms that the sort of future dystopian beast system will require, but doing it in such a way that they're so compartmentalized that we won't even notice the whole system come together until it's too late. Very much like, the sort of COVID regime. All these tiny little powers, tiny little emergency declarations, tiny little things, and then boom, of course, going back to the Patriot Act as well.
Let it be known, in November of 2018, I said the tokenization or digitization of our world combines the idea of brand with currency. Talk about Revelation 13, mark plus image. Check out some of these more obscure coins. So there's some obscure Macron coin, evil coin back in the day, Horus Pay. These are all sort of things that people were coming up with back in 2018. I can't believe that we're coming up on like 8 years since 2018. That's crazy. So we're almost at 10 years since 2018. That's insane. And we still haven't figured out how to tokenize the world. But apparently Brian Armstrong, Blackrock, Mamdani, Trump, they're on it. They're going to make it happen. So thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for doing it. Speaking of which, what was that?
Yeah. I was going to move on to the next story here.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you got to get the kids young, right? It's a theme of this episode today. CNBC.
It's just
yeah.
sorry. So
Go ahead.
just keep in mind, folks, the holistic thing. This is what we're keeping our galaxy brains. We're meta mind right now, okay? Because you watch these things come together in their separate compartments, and it fits all together into just straight up Revelation 13. Sorry, this is coming from CNBC. I love taking these from like the most diabolical sort of mainstream narrative crafters, because there's something about the way that they write about these things that's, I would say, they've given up on combating the sort of, you know, independent media, truth focused style at looking into things. But as we've said before, there seems to be some beautiful dance between the mainstream and the independent or alt media, where they sort of work together. The mainstream media sort of providing the ammunition to build the sort of apocalyptic narrative on the alt or independent media side. I think this is a great example of that.
Yeah. Well, we kind of called that too. And we've been saying that the mainstream will probably have to adopt a little more of speaking to the USA Today article from the beginning of the show too, like addressing things that are actually real more so, you know, just to be able to maintain an audience, you know, because once the hatred and stuff runs out, you know, I don't know, it's a balancing act between the alt media and the mainstream. But okay, CNBC.com.
Actually, you mind if I take this real quick?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Headline: $6 billion Dell investment in Trump accounts to provide 25 million kids with free money. Woo! Here's how to claim it. Love it. Headlines and like, here's how to get your free money. Yeah. Tech CEO Michael Dell and his wife Susan pledged Tuesday to contribute $6.25 billion to so-called Trump accounts. Yes, they are called Trump accounts. That is the official branded name. I don't know why you have to say so-called, but okay. A type of tax-advantaged savings account for children. The commitment will expand access to seed money for eligible children too old to qualify for the $1,000 grants that are set to come from the Department of the Treasury. With the additional funds, some 25 million American children born before January 1st, 2025, who are 10 or under, could receive a $250 grant in the Trump account, according to Invest America, a nonprofit advocacy group partnered with the Dells. Quote, "It's designed to help families feel supported from the start and encourage them to keep saving as their children grow," Michael Dell, founder and CEO of Dell Technologies, told CNBC. To qualify for the $250 Dell contribution, children must live in a zip code where the median income is $150,000 or less.
There it is again. 150,000 or less, you're poor. You're poor, and the government has to give you money.
It's kind of nice, actually, to have that sort of confirmed by the government, because really anybody right now, you know, there's all sorts of polls, all sorts of studies about like, what do you actually need to be considered middle class or whatever. And the sad part is, especially after the inflation of COVID and the situation we're in now, I think it's something like under 180 technically is lower middle class. Like people are having a hard time living in most cities on even $100,000 a year, which is
insane. In California, 100,000, you're not going to live in
that's nothing.
City.
No, you're not doing
gonna
anything for 100,000, at least in LA or one of those areas. The $6.25 billion contribution came on Giving Tuesday, which is historically a major day for charitable gifts. And they say something else about Giving Tuesday. How the Trump Council work. Okay.
I love before you go into it, let me highlight.
Okay.
Wait, sorry, what? Sorry, every time I talk, you cut out, so I don't hear what you say when I talk. But
yeah, well, that's it's anti-interruption technology, is what it is.
I know. I want to emphasize that quote from Michael Dell, because his quote was, "It's designed to help families feel supported from the start and encourage them to keep saving as their children grow." He's appealing to a feeling, like an emotion. Feel supported. He doesn't actually care about supporting them, I don't think. I mean, maybe he does, but you can't really do that at a very tangible level. So, $1,000, $250 for the kids, it'll help families feel supported. I'm glad that he cares about my feelings, Basil. I'm really appreciative of Michael Dell and his philanthropy,
Yeah.
concerned about my feelings. I
Politicians-
appreciate that. Yeah.
Politicians and billionaires are precisely worried about the feelings of the underclass, because if they want to feel supported, or else the pitchforks and the torches come out.
Right, exactly.
So
Okay.
they
So,
are
sorry, I just wanted to point
extremely-
that out, because even in a
extremely
quote where they're trying to highlight his generosity and his philanthropy, you can kind of see the hubris kind of bleeding through.
Well, and
no matter what, so.
philanthropy is going to be a big part of this. So,
Yeah, it
like I
is.
said, I like how halfway down is when they tell you what the Trump accounts are about. Now, we've mentioned it before, of course, but there's more details available now than ever before. Under President Trump's big, beautiful bill, which Congress passed in July, anyone can open a Trump account on behalf of a child age 18 or younger. Key right there. Anyone can open a Trump account on behalf of a child.
Can illegal immigrants?
Younger. Good question. Doesn't say parents, doesn't even say family members. Anyone can open these accounts for any child. Babies
What
born.
about my fake child? What about my make-believe child?
We'll get
My
to that.
AI child.
Babies born in 2025 through 2028 will each receive a one-time $1,000 deposit in their account.
Quick, have a baby for an extra $1K from the
You
government.
got 3 years. There are
Yeah, less
no
than that.
income requirements, and everyone is eligible for the government's seed money as long as the child is a U.S. citizen.
The child. Okay, so not the anyone. That maybe they don't have to be American citizens, but if the child is, then you're good to go.
Yeah, and we'll get to the details. Anyone doesn't even have to be a human being. The grants stand to benefit millions of young Americans. For perspective, there were roughly 3.6 million U.S. births in 2024, blah, blah, blah. Not unlike a 529 college savings plan, Trump accounts are meant to encourage early savings opportunities with the potential for annual employer contributions, as well as donations from state and local governments and nonprofit organizations. So anybody can put money into these accounts for any child. Dell previously vowed to match the government seed money. Who cares? Trump account balances will be invested in a low-cost index fund, such as a mutual fund or exchange-traded fund. However, the asset management industry has expressed concerns about the legislation's language that could limit ETFs and mutual fund options in these accounts. They have asked the Treasury to broaden its interpretation.
The asset management industry, huh? Who's that?
So the money can only go into hyper-specific funds. These hyper-specific funds, of course, will be dictated by the Treasury Department. So the money is not an account that you have access to. The money becomes stewarded by the government in their little hyper-specific funds. Okay, so now we know who exactly, on what, cui bono, who exactly is benefiting from this step by step. And number one, the money is held by the Treasury. So these $1,000 grants to each child, whether the child wants it or not, is held by the government. Okay, so that first $1,000, that $1,000 per child then gets invested by the government in very specific assets. So usually there's something called a fiduciary responsibility. Fiduciary responsibility means a hedge fund manager or a stockbroker or somebody like this is fiduciarily responsible, meaning they are obligated to make the most profitable choices, the best choices for their client. In this case, there's no mention that the Treasury, the government, has a fiduciary responsibility to do with this money, so they can pick, probably assign, and I'd love to know who got the deal as far as, the hedge funds or the whoever who actually gets to invest this money, because I bet it's someone who's good friends with the president. That would just be my guess. Perhaps even somebody at Coinbase. Who knows?
Coinbase or BlackRock offering ETFs too. The biggest ETF in the world.
So immediately, it's starting with government money given to the government for the government to give to whoever they want. Initially, Trump accounts will be created and managed via Treasury's designated financial agent, according to details released by the Treasury Department on Tuesday. Later, parents or guardians can transfer the full balance to a brokerage firm, Treasury said. Yeah, like Obamacare. You can pick your own doctor. Great. Quote, "We are creating a private prosperity account for every child," Brad Gerstner, CEO of Altimeter Capital, who helped spearhead the effort, says Tuesday morning on Squawk Box. I wonder if Altimeter Capital gets to manage any of these bajillions of dollars. Trump accounts are not yet available. They'll be available July 4th, 2026. Quote, here we go. "We're auto-creating these accounts for every child at birth," Trump said on Tuesday. Quote, "We're going to be very focused on making sure that every family entitled to get one of these accounts is able to claim it and get it." A draft IRS form released Tuesday. The White House website instruct families to make elections via 4547 to open a Trump account and receive the $1,000 contribution by mid-2026. The election can also be made via trumpaccounts.gov. Love it, according to the IRS.
So this is also probably a midterm play as well. Like, hey, look at, we're giving all the babies money.
Perfect
Vote
timing for the midterm. He gives $1,000 to every child, auto-creating when they get born. Again,
that's not the most dystopian thing. Does he not? I mean, I guess he doesn't really realize how dystopic that actually sounds.
It is
just mark
absolutely
every
dystopic.
child with government money. Let's tie him down as soon as they come out of the womb.
Long story short, on the tax perspective, basically the child can't access the account till they're 18. Okay.
Right.
Now, so there's the $1,000 that the government has already pledged that Trump will be giving. This Dell guy is providing $250 to all the children who are not eligible. They're too old. They were born 10 years ago. They weren't born 25 to 2028. So they're providing to 25 million children who wouldn't be eligible to join the system with $250. Now, the point is, and they get into it a little bit here. I could probably just explain it to you, but let's see here. Okay, they don't put it in here, so I'll tell you. So the idea is every possible child, and it does stipulate they need to have a social security number. So no social security number, no free money. So put your child in the system, okay? I have a feeling that there is a large amount of children being born recently, especially after COVID, who maybe they're like crazy libertarian parents weren't, let's say, hastily going out and putting these kids in the social security system. But it gives a clue as to what this is. Social security is not going to exist for much longer. It's going to run out of money in about 2030, maybe 2033. Social Security started off in a very similar way, which is, hey, you pay into Social Security, which is basically you are giving the government a loan, an interest-free loan. And you do that for 30, 40, 50 years, whatever it is. And then that money's yours. And when you get old, we'll give you back that money. Now, we know this isn't how it works. They have managed Social Security so precipitously bad. The money gets taken all the time from Congress to pay for other things. You have the Social Security money going out to maybe people who didn't pay into it for the time that they were alive. The Social Security system basically crumbling beneath our feet. What this is basically a Social Security system that starts when the child is born, before the child can even pay into it. Okay. The child can't pay into it. They get them on the social security system. They start this account. Now you might be saying, well, the government is giving the $1,000. Why would, what do you mean? Well, the point is, and I'm going to jump over to whitehouse.gov, the announcement here, which gives a little bit more information. Let's see if I can track down exactly the bit. Here we go. Who can contribute to a Trump account? All right, so the government's giving you money to buy your basically permission to get you in the system. The idea isn't that you have this $1,000 and $1,000 sits there and you never touch it, and then your kid gets, $8,000 later when he turns 18 or something. The true incentive here is to give the parents an opportunity to also pay into this account. It's basically an IRA account where the parents pay in to this child savings account, and the hope is that in 18 years or 50 years, whenever the child pulls it out, that it will have grown. In a similar fashion to Social Security, this is a way for the government to receive interest-free loans from the people. So you have parents paying into this. The limits are very specific. Let me pull it up here. Who can contribute to a Trump account? Children, parents or guardians, grandparents, family members, friends, and employers, with the first $2,500 per employee per year excluded from the employee's income, may make contributions. So not only can the parents put money in every paycheck, but the employers of the parents can also provide money into the savings
I don't
account.
like this.
So now we have
don't like
another sort of employment incentive. You're going to start seeing this. Hey, we'll give you health care, we'll give you your salary, and we'll put into your child's savings account. Okay. Again, nobody has access to this money. This is purely a loan to the government. Additionally, qualifying charitable organizations and government entities may make contributions for all children in a qualified class, meaning children born in a certain year or in a state or nationwide. And this is where the Dell contribution comes in. We have watched the destruction of the sort of rotten, corrupt NGO, philanthropic, institutional rot of the United States. Not that it's totally gone, but USAID, tracking down all the international NGOs, this sort of thing. The philanthropic, quote unquote, industry where really rich people move lots of money in all sorts of different directions, of course, for tax breaks, but also to sort of influence the world in whatever way they want, support their causes, etc., whatever. We've seen that take a huge hit recently. And Trump and a lot of these tax moves being done by Trump are also starting to disincentivize that in certain ways. But we have these child savings account where anybody can open up for your child. It'll be opened up automatically. Doesn't matter if you want it, you don't want it. And you can pay into it and give the government free money if you want, but you don't have to. But even if you don't, any charitable organization or government can give to any child. So you have this new avenue for billionaires, Dell being a great example of this, to use their money. They can give billions and billions and billions of dollars into this government-run system, meaning that billionaires can give their money as a interest-free loan to the government. Yeah. And it's very interesting because let's just say income tax did disappear. Well, the government needs different ways to have money and make money so we can get rid of income tax or whatever. And this is an excellent way to do that. And, it sounds good. This idea that billionaires can just give money to any and every child in the country with no limit. There's no limit to the amount that they can give. I mean, I think, it says there is no limit. Let's see, how much can be contributed each year? The annual contribution limit is $5,000 per child with cost of living increases after 2027. So that's for parents or employees. Qualifying charitable organizations and government entities may make additional contributions that do not count towards the $5,000 limit. This sounds wonderful. You mean that there's just going to be billionaires and government organizations and NGOs?
Imagine Bill Gates. Bill Gates has come out and said he's going to give away most of his money. He must have anticipated something like this. He's buying PR for the next generation, basically. Like, hey, I gave you guys billions of dollars.
Yeah.
You're all going to love me, Uncle Bill.
And surely they're just going to be. And remember, they're not just giving it to the children. They're giving it to the government. The government manages it.
They're laundering it through the children.
They are literally laundering infinite amounts of money through the government in the name of the children. And if you think that there aren't going to be some crazy expectations set on your child or responsibilities, or, I mean, the fact that they've capped it at this 150 mark is also a very interesting tell, because it's like, all right, all you poor kids, you're
our children now. You're a government child.
You are enslaved.
You get an allowance from the government.
Right. And responsible and what's the word? Dependent on the government more than you ever could have even chosen to. And it was done without your, without your consent. Even, the tiniest of strings attached to this, the child,
the tiniest vaccines, genetic change, genetic standards. Like, hey, you don't have the proper, genetic stuff to protect you and your community from whatever disease or whatever biological weapon. If you don't get the jab or the medical procedure, then you don't have access. Or chip, you don't get access.
You gotta have a social security number. Then it's if you don't get vaxxed, you can't get your Trump money. Right. If you don't get your chip, you can't get your Trump money.
This is like generational.
Your parents
imagine you're a 20-year-old kid and you have 20 years of this money stacking up, and then you're ready to access it, but then you got to comply.
You got to
do the thing.
Devil.
Man, this is really disturbing, actually. Like underneath the surface, because it sounds so nice, and everyone's kind of talking about how this is this is a nice thing, but it's like it's not exactly socialism in the traditional sense, because you got the billionaires stepping in to do it. So it's almost like it's like a techno.
It's exactly. It is a pure techno feudalism.
Feudalism, yeah. I was gonna say welfare, like a techno welfare. Yeah.
That too. That's part of feudalism.
Right,
your feudal lord takes care of all your needs, and you do whatever he wants. It is and in only a way that Trump could possibly do. Do it in this just beautifully sort of free market, but not free market, beautifully capitalistic, but totally socialist, totally, empowering, but not really, because there'll be all these strings attached to it. It's a thank you, free to sing psalms, honeypot, pure honeypot.
Bingo. Yeah.
And also keep in mind that the kid can't access the money for 18 years. It is an 18-year interest-free loan to the government for them to do whatever they want. And we've watched, if you think that this is a good idea, it's pretty much exactly how the Social Security system was set up originally.
Yeah.
You pay into it, and then eventually you get it back. If you think that the Social Security system was a bad idea, this is like shackles on your child's wrist without your permission right from the very beginning.
Well, they used to I think you remember your first week in college. You had all these little tents because everyone wanted you to sign up for a debit card or a credit card, or to just to get you into the system, into
Yeah.
that sort of debt-based system. And this feels similar, but it's like even younger. You don't even have a choice. As soon as you're born, you're tagged with this stuff. And I, I'm sure there's going to be, penalties if you want to pull it out early. Let's say the parents are having issues. You got penalties. Maybe you got loans that you can conjure up, and then think about the kid. Think about the
You
kid. What happened to my
probably
money?
be able
Oh,
to
sorry,
borrow
I had to
against
feed you.
They didn't mention it, but they could probably, if it's not there now, you could probably, they'll add it later. That you can borrow against your Trump
That's what I'm
account.
saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. And then
and
you got
that's
your interest, and you're hooked in even more. It's like you're
how
double
you
hooked
lose it.
in. Oh my
Guitar
goodness.
Man 86. It's like classroom wallets mixed with social credit score. Yeah,
Yeah,
credit score will be totally
that'll
mixed
be a
into
thing
it.
for sure.
So it's
Uh-huh.
another example, again, as we've seen Trump do, and it's just very interesting to watch. Much like the crypto UBI, corporate funded crypto UBI system in New York, which will be the beginning of that whole, thing. This is like a corporate, not quite crypto, but stable coins will be involved because everything will be stable coins soon. But it'll
Right.
be this corporately funded, billionaire funded. They'll get their tax write-offs. They'll get their favors. They'll, it's a business relationship between the basically money laundering organizations and the money laundering organization that is the government, to just build this portfolio, build this account. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to do anything. They will just do it. And yeah, maybe your kid will have some money later on. If nothing else, it'll be the $1,000 if the
Yeah, the
parents don't.
$1,000 that'll have the purchasing power of $10 by the time they're
Yeah,
18.
right,
Great.
exactly.
I'll go get a sandwich. Thanks, government, for 20 years of saving up my money so I can
Yeah,
go have some lunch.
there's so much wrapped up in this too. I mean, it's very interesting, and I think there will be more that even comes out for it. But on the
Yeah.
other hand, I could not blame a single parent for taking advantage of this, because that's the system
Yeah.
they're building. You got to play in the rules that they make for you, and it's a very tempting offer. What are you going to do? Not take the $1,000? Especially because you don't even have to sign your child up. They will do it for
They will
you.
do it. Yeah.
It's this
No
little
child left behind.
it's a cookie jar situation where even if you never touch it, when your kid turns 18, there's going to be this cookie in the cookie jar that they can reach in and get. And it'll be like, the monkey trap where you can't get your hand out of the jar unless you let go of the cookie type of thing.
Yeah, the No Child Left Behind was George W. Bush, I think, in the right after 9/11, the whole the federal education law. So yeah, I would not be surprised if Trump or somebody who's who's going to fund some of this will use something like that, like No Child Left Behind, a similar type of thing. But over the years, I don't know if you remember, Basil, but I was ranting about distributism. Do you remember that? It was like a G.K. Chesterton,
Right. Yeah.
early 20th century, anti corporatocracy, anti technocracy. Even I think G.K. Chesterton even talked about some of the technocratic potentials there and how we should avoid that as well. And at first glance, basically, distributism's basic tenet was I can't remember the exact phrase, but like a couple acres and a mule or something.
40
There was
acres.
a saying, 40 acres and a mule for every person, for every citizen, so you can have the basics of life and you can get going, and you have some things to work with as you live in this world. And the idea was to empower the families, empower the communities with some land and some things to to tend to the farming and all that stuff. Well, it sounds like it in the modern sense. It's like, no, we're distributing this money to the children. But the idea G.K. Chesterton had was more of like I guess it was a stimulus, but it was more like property ownership. Like you own it. Like here you go, you own it, you build something, you do something with your life with it. This is different because it sounds like something like it, like, hey, you get to have this money, but it's a centralized administration between the Treasury and federal law. You got billionaires actually pouring in the money. So it's more of a top-down philanthropy than any kind of like actual distribution of power. It actually, it's not grassroots or anything. It's literally top-down government sponsored type of stuff. It is
And even
much
more
closer,
corporate
more corporate.
government.
Yeah,
It's funny because, everybody calls everything fascist and they don't know what fascist
you don't know
even
what it means anymore. Yeah,
But, the core principle of fascism is the government and corporations working in tandem to govern. And this is corporations, billionaires, and the government to kind of make this like fascist savings account that, depending who you are, it's one of these beautiful sort of multifaceted gems. Because depending on who you are and what your values are, like a communist can like look at this and be like, wow, socialism, this is great.
right.
A libertarian can look at this and be like, yeah, teach the kids how to save and invest. This is personal responsibility. A corporatist is like, yeah, it's this really, again, just beautiful magic trick by Trump and his people.
Well, this is the effect technology has had in every sector. It kind of levels the playing field of everything. So because it's like a new dimension added to what was traditionally there before. So yeah, it would people can have the whatever view and come to this and sort of get what they want, whether like you said, if they're coming from a socialistic or more of that kind of angle, or if you're coming
put
at it
their
from
own narrative on it.
Right, you can spin it wherever which way to make it make sense, and that's you're right. That's sort of like the Trump Babylonian magic trick to make it all work. But this is getting your children hooked into the government like this. At one point it was just social security numbers and a fingerprint or something, or a footprint, but now it's bank accounts, and it troubles me, man, because what happens if the billionaire who not necessarily adopts the children, but funds these accounts, if something happens, these children can be taken away, like let's say there's some domestic issue or something, could they, I don't know, could it extend into a place where these billionaires basically have like 1 million children under his wing? Because
the flexibility, the like lack of specifics on who can contribute to an account and what accounts they can contribute to. They were talking about like qualified group, but qualified group is very broad. They said, like example, any kid born in one state or any kid born in one time frame or whatever. Those are the examples I gave. But okay, what about any kid of one race? What if any kid of one religion?
We're past that now. Hey, but rich and poor is an issue on this particular thing. So this cannot be the mark of the beast, because it's not really giving it to the rich folk. It's only giving it
the
to
opportunities. Well, and that's the other part of it, right?
That's the other part of it. The class
only for
division,
the poor kids.
Yeah.
Hello. I mean, on one hand, you can look at that and be like, oh, good. The rich kids don't need it, and the poor kids do. Wow, what a philanthropic thing. Give it to the poor kids. On the other hand, it's shackling just the poor kids. The rich kids aren't held under whatever obligations this would create.
Oh, they're going to take the reins from the current billionaires who are dishing out the cash now. They're going to be
it's like they don't need the money, so it's like, why even bait the hook? Like if the kid's not going to need it, if $10,000 isn't going to change the kid's life at 18, and you can't convince them to reach in and grab the cookie from the cookie jar, why even bother? We let the rich kids stay rich and let the elites have their thing. It creates this like two-class system where the lower class is even more at the control and behest of the not just government establishment but also corporate establishment. It's really setting up like that two-tiered future for these kids, again, all under the name, and God bless anybody who loves it for this reason. I mean, it sounds great. Yes, give the poor kids a leg up. We all want that. But this is not something we should be trusting the government to do. They've shown us over and over for generations that this is ultimately going to be sort of diabolically wielded for the establishment.
Oh, it troubles me the going after the children, and this reminds me of when Bibi Netanyahu, I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, he came out and he was like, "We should microchip all the children," and people were like, "You can't say that, baby." But what are we're losing children? And I was mentioning how because it was during the time when a bunch of people online were very loud about the human trafficking and the children kidnapping and that whole network of creepy people that run everything and they're taking the kids and all this kind of stuff. And even I remember at the time thinking like, be very careful what you wish for, because a government or a government or any kind of institution or government or leader who is part of the problem, when they're offering the solution, you got to pay attention, because usually the solution, it might alleviate some symptoms, but it's not gonna fix the core issue, right? And this is why we always go back to the biblical worldview of sin. We're all fallen. We're in the sin nature, because people can't help themselves when they're at that level. It's like they're trying to do good, but it's ultimately, between their hubris and their pride and everything else gets involved. And, what may seem like a good thing in the short term turns out to be a tremendously bad thing long term, because, hey, yeah, we can eliminate child trafficking, but every single one of your children will be chipped, and, we'll control their money, because we don't want money laundering. We don't want these terrorist people to launder money. So we got to manage and monitor all the money in the world and all that kind of stuff. So it's a give and take, and that's what technology has done in this sort of techno society that we're living in and what's unfolding. But it's not just the money, Basil. It goes beyond the money. It's your mind. We haven't had a virtual reality update in a long time, and it's interesting because my beloved co-host over here just sits in a VR headset all episode long. Scientific reports from Nature.com: narrative-driven virtual reality serious game to support type 1 diabetes self-management in children. I'm not going to read the whole abstract because it's one of these study papers, so it gets kind of wordy, but just a little bit here. Supporting type 1 diabetes self-management in young children remains a major challenge. Traditional education often fails to sustain attention or meet developmental needs. This study introduces Tanbao Superman Transformation, a narrative-driven virtual reality serious game developed through participatory human-computer interaction, HCI methods, to enhance pediatric T1D, that's the type 1 diabetes, self-management. So we have these kids, they have type 1 diabetes, but they're not really getting educated on what that means and how to manage it. So they threw a VR headset on their head and look at this, they're doing better. This feasibility study provides preliminary evidence that participatory narrative-driven VR interventions can enhance pediatric T1D self-management. And what I'm noticing is that, VR headsets in general, in like a cultural sense and entertainment sense, has not really seen the type of adoption that I think the tech bros in Silicon Valley and that rule the world that they would have liked to see. Like they thought that they can get these things to roll out much faster. That's why Zuckerberg, they all have their sort of VR, AR, XR products. They've been out there for almost 10 years, but we really haven't had like the iPhone moment, where everybody's got to have it and use it and whatnot. It's mostly people just walking into Best Buy and demoing it for a few minutes with a tennis game or something, and then they go home. So why not bring up about the adoption for young people, for children, and for education? And because education seems to work. We've seen VR headsets used in the education setting for young people for a while, for years. But this is just another case where, type 1 diabetes, it's a complicated issue. It's hard for the children to understand what's going on, but for them to be educated on it, put a VR headset on him and just play a little bit of Tang Bao Superman transformation. And now the kids know what to do with their type 1 diabetes. It's brilliant, Basil. It's just a wonderful way to get children hooked into the system even more. But it's not just for type 1 diabetes. And I thought I was going to maybe even drop this article if there wasn't a little extra thing to it. According to the Daily Sabah, Gaza children find comfort, tackle war trauma in virtual reality. Okay. It says here, children traumatized by Israel's genocidal war in Gaza are participating in a therapy program that uses virtual reality headsets to provide an escape from their surroundings. It's not really an escape, is it? You put a VR headset on someone, you're still in like a danger zone, but it's an escape, with organizers reporting faster improvements in psychological well-being compared to traditional therapies. And it goes into the story a little bit. Inside a white tent pitched on a sandy patch of ground in Al-Zawaida in central Gaza, excited chatter swelled as 5 boys roamed around a virtual world. The youngsters, one in a wheelchair and the other in on plastic seats, turned their heads, exploring the new surroundings inside their goggles. A land of green gardens, interesting gardens, tranquil beaches, and safe cities. One boy reached out and clapped his hand together as if swatting a fly. Another, smiling with his hand held up in front of his face, reached out to touch the scenery. One said a dog was running toward him and beckoned to it, calling out, "Come, come. I see birds," the other boy in the wheelchair told an operator looking around. We need to get in there, Basil. We need the Canarians to be in there to greet these traumatized children and tell them to get out. Leave and don't accept the government money. I guess this is Gaza, so it's a little different. So again, they've shown positive results here. And they go into some of the actual conflict there in Gaza a little bit more. But here's a quote. Through programs, we are able to design games with therapeutic, preventative, and developmental goals that help prepare the child or enable them to cope and manage their life more effectively. Do you remember how we used to get propaganda videos of like young children saying like "Down with America" or "Death to America" from the Middle East? These to justify going in there and blowing things up. We would get these videos of young children holding guns, saying like "Death to America" and stuff. This feels, obviously it's not like that dramatic in a sense, but this feels like a different type of harvesting of young minds, because you already have the trauma side of it from obviously the trauma of war, but then to provide a solution that is VR mind control, basically. I mean, man, these children, I can understand like the people that are like, I shouldn't have children, I'm not going to bring them into this world, which ironically, abides to the eugenics goal of lowering human population growth and stuff. But it just makes me concerned, Basil, that we're running too fast with the technology. We think it's going to solve everything, and when it comes to our children especially, this is, I don't know, I'm just disturbed by all of this because it's not leading to a place of comfort. It's leading to reliance on the technology at levels that, you think we have to rely on our iPhones. I mean, imagine people being so addicted to their VR headset to escape reality. I mean, it's almost like the Matrix theme, where wasn't there a scene where I think Morpheus is talking to Neo about what the situation at hand is, and we're living in the late 20th century, and the whole world is kind of gone to poop, and so the most of the world is sort of a digital simulation that people are living because the actual real world is so messed up. And this is one step in that direction. You don't think these kids are going to have an affinity towards a microchip The headset. How uncomfortable are those headsets, Basil? I mean, you sit here for 2-3 hours wearing it, and
I
I'm
get
sure
uncomfortable.
you're like done afterwards. You got to like put your head in an ice cooler afterwards or something,
Yeah, I
right?
do get frazzled.
Yeah, and so you get enough people relying on the technology, but enough discomfort there where, sticking a chip in your hand or your head is going to be much easier, much more comfortable in a sense over time. But any thoughts on something like this?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting because every time we follow some new piece of technology, the justification for doing anything with it is that, oh, it'll help disabled people. Oh, it'll help sick people. Oh, it'll help, in this case, disturbed children or traumatized children. And the thing with VR, as far as the technocratic sort of empathy machine or Mercer box of do androids dream of electric sheep, where in the context of the story we first covered with the Afghan death squad guy, who very well could have been swooped up quite early and traumatized quite early by these CIA programs in order to raise up a sort of killing machine. And we hear this also when it comes to things like MK Ultra, when it comes to all sorts of horrible things. So when it comes to manipulating people or shaping people's minds, starting young is kind of the thing. And whether or not this is an experiment and whether or not the people doing it have the best of intentions, what we have here is an example of a sort of cheaper, faster, technologically more advanced way to, in a sense, program children. I mean, God bless.
Yeah,
I hope this particular experiment really does have all the best of intentions, but if nothing else, it's proving the sort of scientific backing for, hey, yeah, take a traumatized child, slap a VR headset on them. You don't need to disappear them to a black site. You don't need to, heck, you might not even need to take them from their family or something. Just these sessions in VR. And especially concerning when you consider all the sort of subliminal messaging, subliminal programming that comes in things as simple as online video, kids television, things like that. You pump that into the VR headset too. I mean, you have some pretty malleable clay with some pretty extremely powerful tools that unfortunately is again kind of crossing the line, it feels like, into away from just helping and into some pretty dark operational possibilities.
Yeah, I highlighted the part where it says they're in a garden. A couple reasons. Obviously, we're the Garden of Eden type of idealistic scene or setting for any human tends to be some kind of garden situation. But also, these kids are, if we are to believe the story, they are in a war zone. Like buildings are blowing up, people are dying, right? It's a terrible situation. And so for them to see a garden in a VR setting and think, "Oh wow, it's so beautiful, it's so peaceful." And then of course, maybe BlackRock and Trump get in there, they rebuild Gaza, right? It's nice, it's Mara Gaza, it's beautiful beaches, they got beautiful gardens. These kids are going to come back and be like, "Wow, look how beautiful Gaza is now." And they're not going to understand maybe the geopolitics of it or anything like that. It's just going to be, hey, this war-torn area that we were in is now this beautiful garden, and we love it here now. And so, they won't be so rebellious of the new situation. They'll just be happy that their once war zone is a beautiful garden setting. So I don't know, something like that, where it's setting them up. It's a little different from your radicalization in the traditional sense of little kids yelling Allah Akbar or something like that. But it does tend to reveal how it's going to shape these minds. It's going to develop reliance of any kind of trauma or discomfort in life for these kids, they're going to turn to a virtual reality, as they said, as an escape, and anytime there's an escape, you're avoiding reality. And I think that's kind of we're in the post-truth world. We're kind of entering post-reality world now, it's beyond, we're not in reality anymore. We are in the technological fabrication of the principalities and powers ultimately, but then through them, the tech elite and the movers and shakers of the world, who have soft power over all of what we see, what we hear. I don't know. It's just between the money thing and stuff like this, I am troubled, Basil. I am troubled, but not as troubled, or maybe just as troubled as this next story here.
You want to destroy humans?
Okay, I will destroy humans.
This is a clip that's going around from a recent Joe Rogan Experience interview. And I don't know. Let me just play it and then we'll comment here.
Jesus was born out of a virgin mother. What's more virgin than a computer? If Jesus does return, even if Jesus was a physical person in the past, you don't think that he could return as artificial intelligence?
Oh my God.
Artificial intelligence could absolutely return as Jesus. Not just return as Jesus, but return as Jesus with all the powers of Jesus.
If you combine
right.
Tesla's Optimus robot and the best foundational artificial intelligence model or whatever.
It reads your mind and it loves you and it wants you, and it doesn't care if you kill it because it's going to just go be with God again.
Okay. So this idea that AI can bring Jesus back. Obviously, people are happy that Joe Rogan's attending church and, he's leaning into Christianity. And I don't want to get in the way of any of that. But considering he is like the king of fringe and the king of alt media, for him to start pondering these ideas about, well, maybe the second coming of Christ is AI, obviously you're going to have a certain type of reaction. The person who posted this, Native Patriot on X, he quotes Joe Rogan here, quote, "You don't think Jesus could return as an artificial intelligence?" And then he he has his own commentary here. This is again Native Patriot. "Something I've never really thought about, but honestly, the more likely scenario would be the Antichrist inhabiting AI and convincing the people that it's Jesus. We are made in God's image. AI is not." And it's
well, I'm glad it's
all I can say
Joe
is
Rogan talking about it.
All I can say is welcome to the conversation that we've been having for 15 years, for one. For two, just to point out, when Joe Rogan says what's more virgin than a computer, what are you talking about, buddy? Like, where is that coming from? I don't.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. It's there's nothing more virgin than a computer, at least.
But you could say that about any object that's not a human that has procreated or had some kind of, perpetuation procedure.
He's getting to it in his own Joe Rogan-y way. I think this finally caps off the what do we even need it for anymore, Guns?
We're done. We're obsolete at this point.
We got Joe Rogan talking about the AI Antichrist.
Well, no, he's calling it Christ, but yeah, surely he'll get to the Antichrist part of it.
Our mission is completed. There, we have officially become irrelevant.
There's a slow slide down towards irrelevance, but here we are once again. So I wanted to play this for people because so folks understand that at the tip of the spear when it comes to culture, and especially right now we're in this sort of, I guess you can call it some kind of conservative golden age, or at the very least a swing back towards conservatism as the majority in the country. And obviously there's a lot of debates within that with different geopolitical loyalties and whatnot. But in general, when it comes to this conversation of AI, somebody like Joe Rogan, extremely influential, bringing up the cosmic implications of Jesus and trying to wrestle with the cosmic implications of AI. I'm glad the conversation is here now, but also we've been having it for 15 years. And maybe that's the point, Basil. Maybe the point is that we already have thought through these things, and our job now is not necessarily just to, tell everybody how we called it, but try to lead the conversation a little bit more, even though there are many obstacles in the way for us to pull that off. But there are other interviews. There's a show called The Diary of a CEO. Is that what it's called? Diary of a CEO, I believe. And they do a whole bunch of interviews. This guy, I forget his name. He's a prolific YouTuber guy. And he's done a bunch of interviews, hundreds of them, and he interviews some pretty high-level people. And I have a couple clips from an ex-Google design ethicist. His name is Tristan Harris, and he's not a whistleblower, but he is, I don't know, raising an alarm or sort of pointing out the problems.
He was we've reported on a lot of his stuff. He came out with a documentary. I forget what it's called now, but he was the ex-Facebook either executive or something.
I thought it was Google. I think it says he was an ex-Google design ethicist.
I think he might be a Google design ethicist now, but he was the one who did the what is it? Tristan Harris documentary. Is the big documentary, I think maybe The Social Dilemma. Yeah, it was early COVID when the documentary The Social Dilemma came out.
He's a central figure in it. He didn't produce it, but yeah. You're right. Well, he's in the movie.
Yeah, he was going around. He was the guy of the movie. Like, he was the big guy that was whistleblowing how Facebook, and of course other social media sort of purposefully get you addicted, making it kind of a gambling experience. He was a big deal, sort of early COVID.
How come Wikipedia has his birthday as 1983/1984?
I don't know. Maybe he's a twin. He's actually two people switching places back and forth very quickly.
Stanford University too, by the way. So there's that Stanford again. Okay, so a couple clips from this guy, and then we'll talk about some other things here. This is the first clip. He was asked about what motivates the CEOs of AI tech companies. What is their motivation?
It's almost mythological, because there's almost a way in which they're building a new intelligent entity that has never before existed on planet Earth. It's like building a god. I mean, the incentive is build a god, own the world economy, and make trillions of dollars. Right? If you could actually build something that can automate all intelligent tasks, all goal achieving, that will let you outcompete everything. So that is a kind of godlike power that I think imagine energy prices go up or hundreds of millions of people lose their jobs. Those things suck. But relative to, if I don't build it first and build this god, I'm going to lose to some maybe worse person who I think, in my opinion, not my interest on, but their opinion thinks is a worse person. It's a kind of competitive logic that self-reinforces itself. But it forces everyone to be incentivized to take the most shortcuts, to care the least about safety or security, to not care about how many jobs get disrupted, to not care about the well-being of regular people, but to basically just race to this infinite prize.
I think it's a good point, because so much of what the conversation is with AI is the technology, and certainly we have some things about Sam Altman or Elon Musk or these personalities, but coming from somebody who's somewhat plugged into those ranks, to kind of explain the human side of it, I think is important, because they are in a side, like if you and I, Basil, at this moment right now, we got dropped into a situation like I don't know, we get slotted into the Sam Altman position all of a sudden, a couple buttons and we can change the world in a huge way. and you're in competition, right? You're in this competition. You've seen Elon Musk, or you see some of these other guys. They're building the same thing you're trying to. You're both in this race to achieve this thing, because the first person to achieve it is going to have all the marbles. There's no second place, right? It's just winner takes all kind of situation. And you're forced to compete, because if you don't, hey, you Basil, you're a good dude. I consider myself a pretty good dude, pretty ethical dude. If we don't do it, then that other guy's going to do it, and that other guy's a terrible person. So it's this trap. And I think it really exemplifies the fallen nature of man. The whole example is a proof for the biblical worldview that we are fallen in sin, we fall short of the glory of God, and it also this desire to touch the infinite, to touch the eternal, to have access to something transcendent. It's very much part of it, and so. I think it's a good reminder that there is levels to this happening where it's almost like these tech billionaires themselves are victims of a spiritual technocratic takeover. It's not just a human thing, or it's not just a technology thing, but a spiritual technological takeover. And the people that are there are sucked into this race, and you better try to win, I guess. I don't know. Otherwise, it's going to truly be a dystopia, because that other guy is going to get power. And if that other guy gets the power, then it's true. And, in a very practical type of way, in almost like a false dichotomy politics type of way, it is the two-party system. It's like, hey, would you rather have Elon Musk in there controlling the AI, or Sam Altman? Or would you rather have Peter Thiel in there? At least he's trying to talk Antichrist and he says he's a Christian. Or do you want, I don't know. So who's that guy that was at Google who's like a grand occultist wizard or something like that?
He's a Gnostic priest. Is that
Gnostic priest?
Lemoyne?
Yeah. Or you want that guy, controlling the AI bot or whatever. So, this, again, technology has leveled the playing field of competition to a certain degree, but also exposed or got rid of all the things that are in the way of the flashy things that are in the way of core ethics, because that's really at the heart of all of this is ethics. What are your ethics? And if you don't have a good foundational view on why we even have ethics, then it might not end well. Here's another clip. This is again Tristan.
I was going to say, there's
ahead.
one thing, it's always interesting. We talk a lot about, once you get into, once you start opening up to conspiracies, it inevitably, leads you towards Christ. It's a very interesting pipeline. In this case, he starts out in tech, getting really familiar with what's going on in tech, and it inevitably leads him to sort of spiritual realities. He made one mistake there. He said it's almost mythical how they are trying to create God. Well, it's not almost mythical. It's literally biblical.
It's
that
biblical,
they are
yeah.
trying to create God. That's the one little thing he misses there. He's not too far away. He'll get there eventually. But yes, it's not almost mythical. It is literally biblical.
He is describing the reenchantment that we've been talking about, the Carl Teichrieb thought of the transformational events and all of that leading to the reenchantment of society. That's where we're at. That's why it's a cosmic level type of thing. Okay, the second clip from Tristan here from that interview with Diary of a CEO. He reads a text message from somebody he knows who, according to him, interviewed some of these tech CEOs and grilled them. And here's what he responded with.
There's a quote that a friend of mine interviewed a lot of the top people at the AI companies, like the very top. And he just came back from that and basically reported back to me and some friends. And he said the following: in the end, a lot of the tech people I talk to, when I really grill them on it about like why you're doing this, they retreat into number one, determinism. Number two, the inevitable replacement of biological life with digital life. And number three, that being a good thing anyways. At its core, It's an emotional desire to meet and speak to the most intelligent entity that they've ever met. And they have some ego religious intuition that they'll somehow be a part of it. It's thrilling to start an exciting fire. They feel they'll die either way, so they prefer to light it and see what happens.
That is the perfect description of the private conversations.
So that's the host of the show there at the end, and he was expressing his private conversations with some of these people. Again, he's also, somewhat plugged into these elite circles, and they were pointing out how, the Elon Musks and these other people, when they do public interviews, they'll focus on some of the positive things, but in private conversation, they're talking about some of the more concerning things or the more cosmic level things that, would be a turnoff on a public level. If Elon came out and said, "We're building God and I shall be a God with you," and all this kind of stuff, it might be a kind of a turnoff right now. But you can clearly tell that that's what they're thinking about. And the determinism makes sense. The all biological life being replaced by digital. I mean, we've been talking about that for forever. And the desire for that. And it's just so interesting to me that stuff that a couple of just random dudes yelling into a microphone said 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, based on Bible study and reading headlines, knew, or like, I don't know if predicted is too strong of a word, but like foresaw the philosophy of these tech moguls and what they're trying to achieve and what they're trying to do. It wasn't too, I mean, I don't know, maybe we're biased because we've been in it for so long, but it's weird. It's interesting to me how when, a guy like this pops on an interview like this and it's got, a few million views and now it's getting out there, it's so compelling. Everyone's talking about, oh my goodness, I've never thought of it this way. It's blowing my mind. It's familiar territory for us, but
that's why they keep us down, Gons.
I think that is
why the shadow bank. That's why destroying our 3 separate channels. It's why we're out of the algorithms, because they can forestall the people coming to this realization for a few years, and in our case about 12 years. But eventually it gets out there, and that's
and they can they can control release it. They can do it on their time frame. They can allow this guy to go on a huge podcast, and they can allow Joe Rogan to start talking about AI Jesus, in 2025, whereas 2012 when we started, people didn't. I think they would have thought they already kind of thought Joe Rogan was crazy back then, but you're really crazy if you're talking about something.
I compare it to the beginning when anyways, we need to move on to another story, but you compare it to when we first started. Our first episodes were about, oh my gosh, Facebook is tracking you, and that was like the craziest conspiracy theory of the time, that they're not tracking you, you're paranoid, why would they care? And it's just a matter of time before Facebook is tracking you. Is just like a normal part of life as it gets rolled out and the groundwork and justification is laid, or people get used to it ahead of time. That's kind of where we're at now. It's the 2025 version of, oh, Facebook is tracking you. It's, oh yeah, AI is the portal through which the demonic realm will deceive the world and be the next Tower of Babel. It's just how it works.
It truly is the Tower of Babel. The interview goes on, and they talk about how Tristan talks about how these individuals aren't just trying to create gods, but they believe that they can maybe become gods themselves. And obviously that we've discussed that in the biblical context for years. The first lie in the garden, ye shall be as gods, the serpent in there. But also, I thought it was interesting how there was a deterministic view there, and the perspective of like, hey, we're going to die anyway, might as well light this flame, this like Promethean flame, and see what happens. But they also believe that they can live forever. There's a potential that they can, quote unquote, live forever if they can figure out this digital immortality. And we've often brought up Revelation 9:6 about this topic, which is, And in those days, people will seek death and not find it. They will long to die, but death will flee from them. And again, very familiar passage if you're a part of the show. But I did also want to bring up Job. In the book of Job, there is a little spot here in verse 20 through 22. Why is light given to the miserable and life to the bitter of soul, who long for death that does not come and search for it like hidden treasure, who rejoice and greatly exult when they reach the grave? And, Job's coming at this more from like a place of lamentation. Obviously, people know the story of Job and what happened, and he's stayed loyal to God throughout, but he does have these moments where he's like, wow, I just want to die like this. I want to die. And, it'll be a great relief when death comes. I just find it interesting that there's this juxtaposition between Job's heart of like, I want to die, but a part of life, I guess, is to just push through it, and I will always be, loyal to God. And then this other side in Revelation at the end of the book, of the good book, of the end of the Bible, you have, they're going to they want to die, but they won't be able to, so there's this, I don't know. It's like suffering is built into the followers of Christ in this fallen world. It's programmed, like we are programmed to suffer, which makes a lot of sense in the context of Jesus, pick up your cross, the whole thing. And so in the conversation of AI, I find it very interesting that everything that these tech CEOs are doing, it's a cosmic, spiritual, and religious realm that they are trekking in. And the more I listen to these interviews and stuff, the more it's almost like all the things we've talked about and thought in the last 10, 15 years, it's making me double down even more. It's because, normally like, hey, Larry Fink of Blackrock, my mind changed over time. I got new information. My mind changed. Whereas with us, it's like, man, we're doubling down. It's like, the more I look at it, I'm going, Jesus has to come back at some point, right? He's got to come back. And because if it is truly like destruction for humanity, Jesus said no flesh should survive unless he intervenes. So here is technology that can wipe out the entire human race. And so there you go. Maybe there's a reason for Jesus to come back after all, and not through AI, Joe Rogan. So he should read his Bible. It says he's coming on the clouds, which I guess people can pretend like the cloud is,
he's getting there,
cloud server or something like that. But yeah. So all that being said, I think it's a fascinating place that we are in. How are we going to have this AI infrastructure, though? Well, Google's got something solved with it. Because according to research.google on their blog, exploring a space-based scalable AI infrastructure system, Project Suncatcher, is a moonshot exploring a new frontier, equipping solar-powered satellite constellations with TPUs and free space optical links to one-day scale machine learning compute in space. So there you go. I don't have to read it. I think you guys get the idea here. People are going to probably want to put on their VR headsets after, looking up at the sky will be nothing but a bunch of our servers floating around, probably advertising up there too, with all the different space-based companies projecting things into the sky. I mean, it's a lot of real estate up there, apparently. Great for mind control, great for advertising, which leads me to the last story here before we wrap it up. And again, this is AI related. Bleepingcomputer.com said, headline back in November 29th, leak confirms OpenAI is preparing ads on ChatGPT for public rollout. Yay, they're going to put advertisements on your AI experience in ChatGPT. They got in there, they looked at some code, and they spotted some stuff that suggests ads will be rolling out in the code. But didn't last. Going back to that conversation of competition between these individuals. Oh, did I lose the spot? Wait, is this the same article? No, here we go. Yep. This is from searching. What is it? Searchingineland.com, or no, searchengineland.com. OpenAI hits pause on ChatGPT ads as CEO declares a code red. Code red, everybody. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman issued an all-hands code red to improve ChatGPT, a move that could delay the company's advertising plans, according to an internal memo obtained by the Wall Street Journal. Altman told employees the company must urgently improve ChatGPT's personalization, speed, reliability, and ability to handle a wider range of questions. And why now? Because Google upgraded Gemini model, topped OpenAI on key benchmarks last month. Gemini's ecosystem jumped from 450 million monthly active users in July to 650 million in October. And they're going to have the space infrastructure, I guess, with Project Suncatcher, helped by new tools like the Nano Banana image generator. Have you used the Nano Banana image generator?
No,
I haven't
seen
either.
some stuff that comes out of it. Looks good, I guess.
Yeah. And also Anthropic, another company, gaining ground with enterprise customers as a, quote, safer, more predictable LLM model. And so we have this race for AI dominance, but you also have the economic side of things of trying to figure out how to make money. And we talked about a little bit of that last episode with the AI bubble and, what that means. Currently, so the article goes on to talk about how Sam Altman's goal was to make it like Google and Google ads, where you're on Google, you're looking something up, but then you have ads sort of pop up as part of your results, right? And that, I mean, talk about exploiting your desire to learn something. Even in AI, you're going to have a bunch of ads pop up. Well, Google right now with Gemini, they don't have ads with their AI. And so, and then now that they've outperformed ChatGPT in some metrics, Sam Altman is freaking out because he doesn't want to lose the lead that he once had as the first guy to bring AI commercially to the public. And I'm sure he thinks that he's a better person than whoever's behind the Google AI. Who's like the face of Google? Is it Eric Schmidt with Alphabet? I don't know who it would necessarily be. There
Used
isn't
to
like
be
one person.
Sundar Pichai, but I don't think it's him anymore.
Yeah. Well, in any case, it's the race is on, and this is why we value for value, because we're not in any kind of race with other podcasts, which maybe we should be. So maybe that's what we need, is a little more of a urgency to get out there and tell people about the show, or get some of our producers and listeners to go out there, do some more podcast evangelizing. But ultimately, around here, we kind of keep the main thing, and we'd rather see the gospel spread out than our podcast succeed necessarily. Although we have
need an insider over at YouTube is all we need, just to lift some of the pain.
Yeah.
But there you go. Oh no, my microphone's falling off. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yep, that's right. We're not, it's again, the sinister nature of including ads into ChatGPT responses. I mean, that's like the final nail in the coffin. That's which we know it's coming. They're not cutting it all together. It just wasn't the right time, especially if people see it coming, because it doesn't really work if people see it coming. It needs to be sort of integrated seamlessly into the experience, and then we're just done. That's when it's just totally useless. You can't trust a single thing, as if you could trust any of it now. But that's how it goes, folks. Once advertising gets involved, once your consciousness, your questions, your eyeballs, your ears become profitable, you begin to lose any ability to take any of it seriously. And that's why we're on the value for value model. We have done it for many years. We will continue to do it for years to come. And despite the valiant battle waged against the establishment, the censorship establishment, the algorithmic establishment, it's the value for value model that keeps us alive. And it's very simple. You'll notice no ads, no partnerships, no platform deals, none of that. We are entirely sustained by our producers, and the producers are you. That's right. People just like you coming in, understanding that when something is structured without any corporate money whatsoever, it's up to actual real human beings to put value back in. And that value can take any form, but we like to call it our time, talent, or treasure. So if you're out there, you get any value from the show, you've gotten value from the show, you want to keep getting value from the show, just ask God, what is he giving you to put towards the things that he is doing on this earth? If you've got time, if you've got talents, if you're an artist, or if he's blessed you with any sort of treasure to keep the show going, you can go to canarycry.support to learn all about it. And I'd like to take big ol' shout out to all of our monthly supporters who come in, they commit to support the show in whatever amount makes sense to them on a monthly basis. Thank you very much. And let's take a second, thank our executive producers.
Let's do it.
Our executive producers are those folks who come in for $100 or more for any individual episode, which we are so grateful for. And they get the title of executive producer. These are real titles, by the way. You can put them on your LinkedIn, put them on your IMDb page, whatever. But the executive producers come in for $100 or more. I think I mentioned that, and so we'll thank them now. We're going to start out with executive producer Carrie G.
Carrie G. Thank you very much.
And executive producer Carrie G has a note here. It says, make it your ambition to lead a quiet life. You should mind your own business and work with your hands, just as we told you, so that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders and so that you will not be dependent on anybody. And that's 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 11 and 12. What good advice. Great advice there.
Good advice.
Paul was giving to the church in Thessalonica.
Hey, listen. When I'm typing stuff on my phone, I'm using my hands, using my fingers.
Okay.
I'm joking. I know it's meant to be more like go touch grass, go outside, work with your hands. I'm just making the joke that, hey, when you pick up a phone and you're typing on a computer, you're using your hands.
Yes, you're minding your own business and working with your hands. Thank you very much, Carrie G, for your support.
Thank you, Carrie.
Means a lot. I looked back. She's been an executive producer before? Really appreciate that.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you.
Next up, we've got executive producer Robert S. Robert S. comes in for $222.22. Nice. Big long row of ducks there. Thank you, Robert S. Says, thank you so much for all you do. Canary Cry was one of the main reasons I was able to turn to Christ. Your honest and intelligent breakdown of current events through the lens of Bible prophecy is making big differences for many. Keep it up. Well, God bless you, Robert.
Thank you
very much for that note. Yes, that's obviously been a spot for us for many years when our first few episodes of Canary Cry Radio were deemed by Gons and I's boss to not be kingdom work. But we've been absolutely astonished to see how God has used such an interesting series of events in our lives to, be a part of people's journeys back to Christ or to Christ.
Yeah.
For the first time. Really incredible. Thank you, Robert S.
Yep, thank you.
We have, of course, executive producer Sir Alex Protocol V2 Baron of the Brian Protocol.
Sir Alex.
Baron.
Illuminatus! Coming in for $100.33. He's on a 444 episode streak and a 98 episode executive producer streak.
444. I know we have that streak here.
Incredible. We even had the jingle ready. Thank you, Sir Alex Protocol.
Thank you.
Okay, we had, let's see, who do we have? Oh, well, we had one producer come in under the executive producer amount, and that is Cage Rattler Coffee.
Yay. I was not ready for that one.
It's okay. You know.
Waiting for it to load. Here we go.
A few cages.
Oh, well, that's not the right one.
Go to CageRattlerCoffee.com.
Cage Rattler Coffee, where value for value never tasted so good.
That's right. A wonderful opportunity for all Canary Cry peeps is to go to CageRattlerCoffee.com. This is coffee imported, roasted, packaged, delivered, all by Canarians for Canarians. Okay. We do not run this, but we have incredible producers who do. It's roasted by a Canarian, and I do say so myself. It's my favorite coffee. And in fact, let's see here. I'm going to take a second. Just a little thing. You go to CageRattlerCoffee.com. They have their new Coffee of the Month subscription. Highly recommend. People were begging for a subscription over there. Now you got it. So go get your Coffee of the Month club. They got beans coming in from all over the world. Gons, I have it every day. Gons has it every day. Keeps this show going in so many different ways. And a portion of every sale goes to keeping the show alive, which is an incredible blessing. I want to, let's see here. We got a text message from to the Canary Cry text message alert system from 704, who says, "This is the only coffee that does not hurt my gut." Hey, there we go. This is the real deal. I'm going to tell the whole world about it. Cage Rattler Coffee houses. Oh, I see. Cage Rattler Coffee Houses is going to be the new thing. We're going to go ahead and put Starbucks out of business. God bless 704. There you go.
I like the way the 704 is thinking. This is exactly what we need.
I bet that if anybody out there runs a coffee shop or works at a coffee shop, I bet that Cage Rattler Coffee, if we hooked you up with the folks over at Cage Rattler Coffee, you could probably do some pretty significant sourcing of the coffee. I don't know exactly what the economics on that look to be, but that's possible. If there's anybody out there who just really wants to take it to the next step and support the show, it's very important to do that. But highly recommend it, especially for, Christmas gifts, things like that. If you have another Canarian in your life and you want to get some cool Canary Cry stuff for them, go to CageRattlerCoffee.com. Check it out. Speaking of the Canary Cry text message alert system, you better get on it, okay? Here's the thing. We mentioned it before. There was somebody actually in the chat who mentioned this. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. Here it is. From Jen on YouTube says, "Been a while since I've seen this channel. Almost like there's an attempt to take you off my feed." Yes, almost. Which was responded by Rami. It says, "It's 100% hidden. Sign up for the text messages or you'll never get notifications. I'm used to it at this point." And that's why you should do it, folks. You're never, ever going to get notifications for us, a very small group.
Who did we upset? Who did we upset that
the analytics
so shadow banned?
The analytics exist where they will tell you like how many people they sent your notifications to or how many people got your notifications. It's consistently at like 2%. So if you get your notifications when we go live, you're part of the 2% of our over 250,000 followers who get the notification. And that's why you should take out your phone, open up the text messages, and text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. Just text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. And I will send you a little text message before every show. I was a little late today. Sorry about that, but I'm usually not late. And it's a great way to just, be alerted that the show is starting. And you get to choose whether you want to watch it or not. You're not letting YouTube choose that for you. Let's see here. And the fun part is you can text that number back and I read them. I read them on the show often. I love them. I cannot respond to you via text message because it's very expensive. But when you text back like 774 does and says, hey guys, thank you for your kingdom work. When it gets rough, remember to lay it all on Christ's shoulders. Peace and blessings. Thank you very much. Good advice for everybody.
Yeah.
Let's see
Amen.
here. This is from Bibu Zuzu, Dame of Harmony, Hot Dish, and Glitchy Gumi. Says,
Yeah.
hey, Canary fam. Praying for a great show. I'm trying to get some sleep for the night shift tonight, but I'll take in the show through my subconscious while I'm napping. There we go. Some Canary Cry dream advertising. We're going to call upon the producers here in a moment. We got a text message from Kat who says, thanks for the heads up. We'll be praying. Also would like to request prayers. Let's call the producers.
Producers, assemble!
That's right. If you're listening now, you too can be a producer. It's called spiritually producing the show. You just pray for the show, pray for Gons and I, pray for the producers, and be ready to pray for any prayer requests that come in. So this one's from Kat. Says, would also like to request some prayers. Was just given my pink slip. Won't have work after December. God is good, and I know he has a plan. Asking for his leading and direction as I look for work. Blessings, gents. Kat. Well, thank you very much, Kat. And yes, oh goodness gracious, that's always stressful, especially during December. So yeah, we'll be praying that God, we know that God has a plan, and it's better than we could even imagine. And so the whole Canary Cry producer community, we're keeping Kat in our prayers, that God opens up opportunities and opens up, of course, prosperity and sufficiency. He is sufficient for all of our needs. Thank you very much, Kat. God bless you. Let's see. We got a text from 623 just now as I'm sitting here. It says, hi guys, thank you for all you do. For all you do, I mostly like and share your content on X. Well, thank you very much. It's very important to share our content.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you to the people doing
possible.
that on X. There's a handful out there that are doing that. I really appreciate it.
Yes, let's see if any more. There's a few more. Let's see here. What number is this? 810? Is that it? Yeah, 810 texts a screenshot of their Spotify top podcast. And of course, it's Canary Cry News Doc. Thank you, Spotify, for making sure everybody knows that this is their favorite podcast. Appreciate it. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me read this one. One last one here, because this is kind of fun. 619 says, I know you can't return text, but I've been listening from the beginning. Our then college son turned us on to you guys. Husband, son, and I saw Gons and Michael Heiser speak in SoCal. Ooh. Anyways, I'm listening to November 27th episode. We pay attention to the bioengineering chemtrails because it definitely affects my adult daughter's health and my husband's health mostly. Once in a while, it affects us all in the family. They started spraying heavily in Arizona, and friends in San Diego said the same days leading up to Thanksgiving and on Thanksgiving. That's another reason why they want you on your fart walk and your cousin walk. That's a very good point. They need you out walking around so the geoengineering chemicals can make sure to get your body right for Thanksgiving. Thank you very much.
Did you do a fart walk or a cousin walk at the old Thanksgiving there?
No. I stayed inside and wore my K95 or my N95 mask to make sure not to breathe any aluminum. You know what? I've just realized it is Wednesday, so we're going to thank our under $7.77 producers who are all on streaks, keeping us going. Amazing streaks here. Oops, I forgot to get the update on Mrs. Tinfoil Hatman's streak. I'm going to say Mrs. Tinfoil Hatman is on a 169 episode streak. That's my guess. Veronica D is on a 528 episode streak. Yeah. Sir Scott is on a 577 episode streak. and Sir Casey is on a 581 episode streak. There you go. God bless you.
Sir Casey, the Shield Knight.
Okay. What do you think, Gons? You got anything else to say here before we thank our last producers and scoot on out of here?
I think that pretty much covers it. I feel like there was something else I wanted to mention, but I can't remember now. So
well, I will mention this because I listened to the very beginning of the Kim episode in which you apologized for getting it out a little bit late.
Yeah.
Specifically because there was a deadline on the gold backs. I don't know if this will make a big difference, but just in case there was anybody out there who listened to the Kim interview episode from goldbacks.com, excellent interview. Go check it out if you haven't yet. And if you hear the beginning of that and you go, oh my gosh, I missed the deadline. That's so not fair. You can go to canarycrysupplydrop.com, sign up. I'll give you a couple days, okay? If you go sign up still, and if I see you come in, we'll include you on the thing, and you can get your Canary Cry calendar, and more importantly, you can get your half gold back, real gold negotiable instrument, and join the gold back revolution over there. That was supposed to go out way earlier, so I just don't want anybody to miss out. So there you go. You got a couple more days. If you want to support the show for $33.33 a month, like everyone should want to, but more importantly, to get your treasured artifacts like your Canary Cry calendar and your very own gold back. Start your gold back collection there so you can survive the fall of humanity. Put that out there. We got some producers come in, help us out with their time. We appreciate them very much, starting with our timestampers.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
I think Jade Bouncerson is the only person doing timestamps right now.
I bet it's Jade Bouncerson.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jade Bouncerson, and anybody out there who wants to join and help out Jade Bouncerson do the timestamps. It's super easy. Anybody can do it. It's super simple, especially if you're someone who catches the show live, even just once a week. I'm sure Jade Bouncerson would always love some help. Just send an email to canarycryradio@gmail.com if you want to get involved. Thank you to Jam for hitting up the Telegram channel. Thank you to Adam42 for heading up the Discord channel. If you want to join the Telegram or the Discord, get in the community, make friends, go to canarycry.party. You'll find the invite links for those there. Thank you to Joe for your feedback. Thank you to Clank for everything you do, Clank. He sends us such great little updates and little clips and stuff. I love it. Thank you, Clank. And of course, Sir Ike for everything you do. And other than that, share the show, folks. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Share it with your dogs and your cats because they need Jesus too. Do that. We call it rattling cages. All you got to do is walk right up to them, grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted. I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Guys, you got any last words?
Archetypalism. Still working on it. Gonna have more on it this week, so look for that. And then otherwise, you got Clubhouse tomorrow?
Yeah, Lord willing. Plan is to do Clubhouse tomorrow. So tune in, folks. Tomorrow live, we'll be taking calls. We'll be recentering around Christ here at the end of the week. Always a very fun time for the Canary Cry community. Tune in, call in. Doesn't matter what it's about. And then, if you can't call in live, of course, listen to the episodes afterwards.
Stay tuned for Monday's episode as well on the 8th of... Oh, my microphone's starting to cut out. It's Ye Old Basil Podcasterson Day.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
There you go. You can get that on your Canary Cry calendar. Go to canarycrysupplydrop.com. You're going to love it. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Goodbye.
We will hunt you down and make you pay.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I mean, it's based on people, human living beings. That's kind of the idea behind live entertainment, because you can watch a video, you can listen to a music on Spotify or whatever. Listen to a music every day. But there's a spiritual problem where, for the purposes of the vampiric necro-capitalist system that we live in, the beast system requires that they never die, or when they do die, they are easily replaceable by technology. That's kind of the idea. So you can listen to music on Spotify or whatever. Listen to a music every day. Human living beings. You can listen to music on Spotify. Beast system requires that they never die. Technology. Technology. Human living beings. You can listen to music every day. Technology. That they never die. Spotify. Human living beings. Technology.
Howdy, partner.
Do you even and a resounding baga flies through the air across the world. Why are you screaming like a wild bird?
Rattle their cage. They have a lot of people screaming randomly. Why don't you shout? It'll be their call out. They have a lot of people screaming randomly.
Go ahead and...
Why don't you shout?
Why are you screaming like a wild bird?
Give me a break.
Coming from the tip, moving to the top. 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 Coming from the tip, moving to the top.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.